5 things you need to know about the OBSBOT Tail 2. I'm Jason Hoffman. My goal is to help you have the confidence to just press go live. Some of these 5 may be common knowledge to you. Some you may be hearing for the first time. There's probably a bonus at the end. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to know about the OBSBOT Tail 2 is that you can control tracking and panning speed. If you're going to control the pan speed, we'll go into the gimbal view, and there you have a turtle and a rabbit right there in a handy dial. If you're trying to make finer tune adjustments to your set, to the shot that you're setting up, you can pull that down toward the turtle, and one click on the gimbal compass will move much smaller than if you run it up to the rabbit and do one click. So that speed with which it will pan can be raised or lowered right there with the rabbit and the turtle underneath the control for your gimbal. If you're wanting to control the tracking speed, we go into the AI part of the software here, and then I'm going to click on the speed here, that little icon, and notice I have from super lazy all the way to crazy and even custom. When I turn tracking on, if I have it on fast or crazy, it's going to catch every little movement that I make. If I keep it on super lazy, it's going to be much more forgiving. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So, crazy, and now let it track me. And as I move, every little bit of motion is going to cause it to readjust, and I move a lot whenever I talk, so putting myself into tracking and having it track fast or super fast or crazy, it's going to move a lot, and that's a little bit distracting. So if I'll go back in and I'll take that down to lazy or even super lazy, then you'll notice that those little bits of movement that I make don't make near the impact on the overall shot selection there. And so I have to move a whole lot more for it to slowly catch up with me there. And that's probably a lot better view for folks. If I'm doing a talking head video, or if I'm walking you through something at the ballpark, I need to remember to pull that down to a slower speed, and that happens in the AI settings of the OBSBOT Start software. I will say that the pan speed does not translate over to the remote. If you change it in the software, you still have a standardized pan speed on the remote, and I haven't yet figured out how to change the pan speed for the OBSBOT remote. The second thing you need to know about the OBSBOT Tail 2 is that the SD card you use when you're recording matters. It will take up to a 1 terabyte micro SD card, but it matters the speed of the card that you're choosing. It's going to prefer a V60. If you can find a V90, go ahead and get that V90 as well. That means it's going to be capable of writing 60 megabits per second, V60. Let me make sure I'm telling you correctly. Kingston has a fantastic overview of this entire idea. And so I'm going to geek out on SD cards here for just a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Speed for micro SD cards, or SD cards as a whole, are measured by different classes. So there is the speed class, which is a C with a number inside of it. We used to see speed classes up to C10. And that speed class is going to mean that it's going to be able to write 10 megabits per second. When we went from seeing those being kind of the standard to a U, SD card companies were beginning to put the U speed on there, and it's a U1 or U3, and that's going to be, U1 is the same as a C10. U1 is 10 megabits per second. If you see a V on your card, you may see a V10. Well, that means it's going to be able to write 10 megabits per second. Still, U3 is 30 megabits per second, but you'll see that recorded on some SD cards as a V30. Your OBSBOT Tail 2 would prefer a V60. Now, I do have a V30 right here that I have been able to do some recording on, but I have some V30 cards that are not quite fast enough, or maybe they're mislabeled, because not every micro SD card company is completely honest about the speed of their card. But if you can find a reputable company, SanDisk, Samsung, Kingston, PNY, those are pretty good to be able to get your reliability there on the speed of which they say they're going to do, and get those numbers up to the 30 megabit per second. 60 megabit per second would be ideal for the OBSBOT Tail 2. But if you're going to record in 4K, then you're going to be creating quite a bit of a file, and that 60 megabits per second is going to be necessary to write the amount of data that a 4K video is going to be producing. The third thing you need to know about the OBSBOT Tail 2, especially if you're doing your research before purchase, is that there is no built-in microphone. And they're taking some heat over that. Some folks think that matters tremendously. They can't believe such a high-quality camera would not come with a microphone. And some folks say, you know what, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if it has a microphone or not. And to be honest with you, I'm going to always try to put myself in a position where I'm not having to use the built-in microphone. I'm going to be using an external microphone. Case in point, ballpark. I'm going to be having an external microphone that I can block the wind from, or that I can put on my person to do play-by-play, not rely on something that's far away. If you had a built-in microphone in a padded room and it was close, you might get pretty good sound. If you had a microphone outside and there was no wind, you'd get decent ambient sound. But for the most part, we're going to plug in an external microphone. So the idea of it not having a microphone, that isn't as big a deal for me, but it is for some folks, so you need to know that. The third thing you need to know about the OBSBOT Tail 2 is the 12 times hybrid zoom that their marketing has come up with is a combination of a 5 times optical zoom and a 2.4 times digital zoom. 5 times 2.4 should give us the 12 hybrid zoom we're talking about. And that's not something that they have publicly released. That's just doing the math. And if the maths the way I think the math should math, 2.4 times digital crop of a 4K image is still a 1600 by 900, which is pretty good. That's just below full HD. So all the way punched in to the 12 times of their hybrid zoom is still going to give you a high quality picture. Not quite full HD, but man, it's a good view all the way punched in to 12 times. The fourth thing you need to know about the OBSBOT Tail 2 is that there is a built-in fan for cooling. On this little device, you've got an intake side over here, you've got an exhaust side over here, and when you power this up, the fan comes on. There's never a time when this isn't powered up that the fan is not running. It spins all the time. That might be the reason there's not an onboard mic, just maybe. But the great benefit of having a fan-driven intake and exhaust port design is that you get constant airflow across all the pieces that generate heat. So we should be able to handle outdoor heat exposure like a champ. Aluminum housing plus vents with a fan should give us good summertime use for this particular device. Okay, so that was the fifth thing, not the fourth thing. But the bonus thing that I want to talk to you about, the OBSBOT Tail 2, is that they've built this technology with I don't know how to say this word, but you see what it is. And what they're talking about is the ability to take advantage of augmented reality and virtual reality using their PTZ tracking. Think Apple's big reveal when they put their spokespeople in this massive scene that is computer generated. You're going to be able to do something similar with the OBSBOT Tail 2 using that 3D PTZ tracking information. And this is one of the things that I don't yet understand all that goes on there. But for my use, I could imagine being able to clear everything off of the wall behind me and set this up as a virtual studio instead of it always having to be populated with things that are real. I kind of like that idea, and we'll see how people begin to take advantage of it when they set up their production flow with the OBSBOT Tail 2. Okay, so the bonus for the things you need to be aware of with the OBSBOT Tail 2 deals with NDI. And it probably goes without saying, but I just want to remind you, if you're going to be using NDI with your OBSBOT Tail 2, it defaults to 4K, H.264, 4K 30 frames per second as its NDI output. To run that, you have to be connected to a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi to get that NDI source into something else, or hardwire it, obviously. But you can't put it on a 2.4 gigahertz at that resolution and expect to get good frame rates, because it's just going to be choppy. It's just going to be glitchy if you try to run that 4K NDI over a 2.4 gigahertz router. So you can either drop it to 1080, which a 2.4 gigahertz router, if it's quality, will handle no problem, or you can run 4K if you'll put it on the 5 gigahertz side. Just for your information, that NDI sometimes will throw you off. And I guess I should probably give you that one that I've already given in a different video. If you are going to use the remote and you're going to use NDI in another piece of software like Top Director or the Mevo Multicam app, be sure you turn your remote off. Red is dead. Red means it's off. Be sure you turn your remote off before you try to connect your device to one of those pieces of software. Elsewise, you'll get a false connection. It'll say it's connected, but you get a black screen. And there are a lot of folks who are struggling with that black screen. And some of them, the answer for that is you've got your remote connected to your camera, turn it off, kill the software, open it back up, reconnect, and then you'll have your picture that you're looking for. So the remote, for some reason, is getting in the way of NDI sending a picture into that software for the OBSBOT Tail 2. Are there things that you've learned about the OBSBOT Tail 2 that you would like to add to the next time we do a video like this? Leave them in the comments. We'll be sure and add them in the next one that we show.